Paymon who?
Matahede.
Paymon Latahede. Who is he?
Never paid taxes in 30 years. Fought the U.S. tax court and won.
See, I believe our rights come from God, not from government. Hello to my freedom and truth-seeking friends. I'm Paymon Latahede, the president of Freedom Law School at freedomlawschool.org. In this presentation, with the cover topic of Tax 2026, like it's 1776. Yes. Declare independence from federal income tax legally and safely. Yes. Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene has started this, and we're going to talk about why and how to help you stop paying income tax, stop filing 1040 form, and join the national tax strike. What's going on out there? Well, let's look at it. We have the Somalian Day Care fraud that's all over the online, what's going on out there. Two, we have the Epstein cover-up, right? Continues to this day, even after law has been passed by Congress for the DOGE to release the files. The crooks in the FBI and DOJ are still covering up the Epstein files. Then we got about 2 years of Gaza genocide. 90% of Gaza has been flattened by Israeli 2,000-pound bunk busters. Close to 100,000 people, we don't know, have already died, many of them under rubbles. You know, that's a genocide funded by our tax dollars. Then on top of that, the Pentagon for 8 years in a row cannot even be audited. Hundreds of billions are going where we have no idea every single year. On top of that, guess what? All the DOGE audit of the federal government waste and fraud that had been exposed many months ago by Elon Musk, guess what? Most of that was rubber stamped and renewed by the crooked Congress of the United States anyways. The Ukraine war is still going on. Unfortunately, Trump did not stop it. Year after year, we're still funding that war needlessly between these two European countries. Let's not forget, though, before Trump, we had the warp speed gene therapy that started under Trump to get his vaccine out, which wasn't even tested properly. It was not even a vaccine to begin with. They scared us with this, this 6 feet apart, right? Social distancing, requiring you to get vaccines to many people. Remember all that force they put on American people to control us? And let's not forget the mandate to get that injection, that deathly injection that has murdered untold hundreds of thousands of people across the globe, or maybe more, because they don't tell you the real numbers of people that have been killed by the vaccine, right? And then how about the wokeness, right? Allowing the mutilation of children in the name of, gender affirming care, and having men in women's sports as if they're equal because they just claim that they're equal to women, even though they obviously are not. And then when you talk about all this stuff, what they want to do? Crack down, censor you, don't let you speak. Our YouTube channel was closed down by YouTube. You know, why? Because we're telling you the truth that they don't want you to hear. In January 6th, what happened? They put people in prison. Why? Because election fraud, the riggedness of the election, we were exposing, talking about this stuff. Okay. So you see, isn't that enough? Look, this is what led to former representative, now officially becoming soon, Marjorie Greene Taylor, said this: almost every Trump voter I see on X is so fed up, they're planning a 2026 tax revolt, and rightfully so. It's because Americans work their asses off, barely make ends meet, and the government consistently gives their hard-earned tax dollars that you work for to foreign countries, foreign wars, and foreigners the U.S. government has allowed into America. And nothing is given to the Americans. We have nearly $40 trillion with a T in debt, unaffordable health care, unaffordable housing, and a dollar loses value every day. Meanwhile, the government, no matter which party is in charge, screws over Americans. What will it take to put the American people first? That's a good question. That's why we're going to have this national tax strike. I'm going to show you how I join it legally and safely. Hang on. There's more I want to share with you guys about what's happening out there, okay? So Marjorie Taylor Greene adds, this is how angry Americans are, and rightfully so, with nearly $40 trillion in debt and Social Security becoming insolvent in 2033, 7 years from now, okay? Now imagine if millions of Americans did this. Yep. See, then look at all these messages, okay, that people are saying, saying, dear IRS, I'm done. I'm opting out, okay? I think it's time for a nationwide tax strike, okay? Millions of Americans refuse to pay taxes that are used to fund scams and foreign wars should wake Washington up. Hodgkin twins say, what are the feds going to do if we all just stop paying taxes? Marjorie Greene Taylor says, tax revolt. Yes. What happens if you don't pay taxes for just 1 year? Yeah, that's all it will take. Yep. The revolution to save America is being organized through a 2026 tax revolt. The whole country should stop paying taxes until the corruption ends. Hit them where it hurts. National tax revolt, which is why Freedom Law School says tax 2026 like it's 1776. 250 years ago, the founding fathers of America, that generation, declared independence from the crooked King of England, which no longer represented the interest nor protected the rights and freedoms of the American colonists. And it's time we do the same. A national tax strike in America, okay? Let's go a little bit more what people say. Look at this. Imagine how little we'd actually need to be taxed if it wasn't going to fraud. Man achieves the American dream of working hard and paying taxes for 50 years so he can fund fraudulent Somali day cares. We're not paying a 3% tax for tea way back 250 years ago. Now, we literally pay income tax to criminals protecting sex traffickers like the Epstein billionaires. Okay? And how about that? That stupid wall in Israel that American politicians lick. Okay? And American citizen wondering, why are you going over there, that little tiny little country in the Middle East so far away, and having allegiance to that little tiny country versus allegiance to we, the American people, that you're supposed to work for. We pay taxes for you to work for us, and you worry about that little tiny little country of less than 10 million people and lick their wall? So, yes, it's about time we do something. As Henry David Thoreau said way back then, if 1,000 citizens, he said back in 1800s, were to not pay their tax bills this year, that would not be a violent and bloody measure as it would be to pay them, and enable the state to commit violence and shed innocent blood. This is in fact the definition of a peaceful revolution, if any such is possible. Yes, peaceful revolution. Peaceful restoration of our republic. Defund that Washington, D.C. swamp of criminality and corruption down to size it was intended by the Founding Fathers in a U.S. Constitution. Yes, that's what we got to do. And they're powerless to stop us if you recognize how we have the power to begin with. This is from the cartoon called A Bug's Life. The bugs here, the grasshoppers, that is the deep state. That's a Congress with all the powerful, moneyed special interests who bought off our congressmen, our government, and presidents, okay, in the recent decades, okay, and we the people of the ants they're trying to enslave. Check this out, what he's got to say, okay? Here we go.
Yeah, you're right. It's just one ant.
Yeah, boss. They're puny.
Puny? Say, let's pretend this grain is a puny little ant. Did that hurt?
Nope.
Well, how about this one? Are you kidding?
That's me. One ant for over 30 years haven't filed and paid federal income taxes and openly try to teach American people stop funding the criminals in Washington, D.C. and the people that benefit from robbery of you. They take from you and they divide amongst all the crooks and criminals who funded and got paid for politicians to get elected. But now things are changing because the ants, they consider us all the puny ants. We are waking up and taking back our country and our government. Here we go now. What it says, how about this? How about this, right? How about if all, look, that's the American people burying them. Too many of us to bury these crooks and criminals and thieves.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line.
It's not about food only. It's about keeping you little slave ant Americans in line. See what's going on? Because we outnumber them. Huge. That is right. They cannot get all of us. There's way too many of us already. I cover this issue in detail at Freedom Law School's website, freedomlawschool.org. You got to go there, take the 7 steps to free yourself of the IRS. Okay, regain your power, freedom. Never again voluntarily pay the Washington, D.C. swamp legally and safely guaranteed. Why? Because there's no law that requires 99% of Americans to file and pay income and payroll taxes. The 7 steps is right there to do it on our website. To find out for yourself, verify it for yourself. And here's what. Step 3 is about rising IRS based upon deception. In 1998, IRS admitted there's about 63 million Americans who they expected to file income tax forms, 1040 forms, and they did not. There's not just a claim. That is a fact. Here's IRS's own letter. In 1998, they wrote from Washington, D.C. to this guy, Mr. Dwan Abel in Portland, Oregon. What they say in second paragraph, based on our 1996 tax filing program, we estimate there are approximately 63 million taxpayers, Americans, who have not filed a tax return and initially would appear to have a legal requirement to file. This estimate is based upon data available to this service on the individual master file. Oh, yeah, but guess what, folks? There is no law, as I said, to require you to file income tax. The proof about that is on our website, freedomlawschool.org. Educate yourself. The only people primarily required to pay income tax are who? Citizens and residents of Washington, D.C., not the people of 50 states. If you have income from D.C., you got to pay income tax. You have nothing to do with D.C., you don't owe income tax at all. Verify that at freedomlawschool.org. Now, you do that first, and now you can join the tax track as well, real easy, quick. By going to our website, I'll show you, and go on our website on the right, okay? When you go on the right tab right here, the third item is for yourself, from tax withholding. There it is again. For yourself from tax withholding, they click on that, and that gets you to this page, okay? Now I'm going to take the top of this page. There it is. How to legally stop the withholding of federal income tax from your paycheck, okay? And this package, folks, contains the instructions and documents necessary to, correct your withholding status to exempt. And this process uses a statement of good faith to establish a protected business record while ensuring your employer processes the W-4 form without any problems. Yep. Now, you got to read these warnings first, okay? The prerequisite is you must petition the Congress first, okay? And you should not use this package unless you have read and understood our petitions and have already, or within a few days of using this package, have mailed your petition to Congress, which is available on this link right here. I'm not going to go through that right now. In this package, we confront the lawmakers. Look, show me where I got to file income tax, and I will pay my fair share of taxes humbly. If you can show me where I got to do this. Otherwise, you need to stop the crooks in the IRS and DOJ from robbing the American people, making us all poorer. Okay? That is so critical to protect you and your job as an American citizen, to have Congress get rid of all the waste and corruption in the D.C. swamp. Okay? Now, so the petitions, the number one petition is about individual income taxes. And it's important you do this for many reasons, including that your defense down the road, in case IRS comes after you criminally, depends on you proving that you have read and understood the petition to Congress, particularly regarding the individual income tax. And mailing those petitions creates a written record of your understanding of the understanding, and formally invites Congress to correct you if you are wrong, which of course you are right, okay? And if you use this W-4 package without having mailed the petition, you are making a false statement on the amendment. Yes, do that W-4, folks. It's very important. The link is right here to go do petitions for free. Yes, for free. It's your right and your duty to write this petition and send them by certified mail to all three of your congressmen. Now, the lock-in letter risk is something I got to tell you about, okay? Claiming exempt on your is your legal right, but it may trigger IRS to send a lock-in letter to your employer. Unfortunately, this happens once in a while, okay? This intimidation letter threatens your employer to disregard a W-4 for and withhold tax rate at the maximum single zero rate. Now, IRS can do that even if you don't go exempt, but making exempt perhaps make the risk a little bit higher. And unfortunately, the problem is, if this happens, employers are afraid the IRS will most likely do what the IRS says and steal your money. So we have a separate procedure to challenge the lock-in letters, which is not foolproof. But you must understand this risk does exist. Now, FICA notice, I got to tell you about that, the Social Security Medicare taxes, okay? This W-4 package stops federal income tax withholding, does not stop the Social Security Medicare taxes. Your employer will very likely continue to deduct FICA taxes regardless of your W-4 status, unless you can, of course, persuade them why they are not legally required to take FICA out of your paycheck, and maybe even join a Restore Freedom and Employee Freedom Plan, which would be great if you have a small employer, maybe 5, 50, or 500 employees or less, that you have a relationship with them. You can talk to the owner, put him in touch with us. We can educate your employer, and he can stop stealing from all of your employees of the company, that all, including you, will be free of all FICA and all withholding, no W-4 forms, no W-2 forms, no 1099s. Unfortunately, their CPA and tax attorneys got them believing, you got to do these forms, others will be in trouble. So that's the reality we're dealing with that you got to be aware of. Okay, now, let's go over these a little further. Instructions, okay? The instructions, there's two of them. One is paper form, KW4. The other one's online portal, okay? Because companies do it online more and more these days, okay? So if the paperwork is what your employer does, okay, well, we got to see that. So if it's paperwork, then here's a IRS Form W-4 where you print this page, as well as Freedom Law School addendum, okay? You prepare those. And so I'm going to go over the steps to prepare these documents, which I already have open here. Here is the W-4 form, Employees Withholding Certificate, okay? So now, here, this is the 2026 version of this form. You fill out your information, okay, name, address, and so forth and so on. As you go down on this thing, okay, you can skip step 3 and 4 here and just go below that to exempt from withholding, okay, right here, the box here, you check that box and right of that, okay, that's all you do right there, and you sign it here, and then you say here, see the addendum or see the attachment, okay, and when you do that, here is the addendum or attachment to the form W form, okay, which is your statement of good faith certification of exempt status, okay. So here you certify certification of non-tax liability. You say, I've checked the exempt box on this form based on my sincere good faith determination that I've incurred no tax liability for federal income tax under subtitle A of the Internal Revenue Code for the preceding tax year, and I expect to incur no such liability for the current tax year. And the basis of your reliance is what? My certification is based on a legal analysis documented in my justification for congressional investigation of unlawful collection of individual income taxes, which is available upon request. I am incorporating that petition to the Congress by reference into this certificate as a factual and legal basis of my signature. Yes, that's a petition to Congress that we talked about that you should send out right away before or very soon after you do this W-4 exempt package. And here we mention absence of willfulness. I am not a tax protester. I formally petition my Congress members, the authors of the law, to correct my understanding if it is an error, unless and until the legislative branch clarifies that the law cited in my petition apply to me. I must rely on my good faith understanding that I am exempt. Okay, so that's what this is here. And then the other option is, as we talked about, is an online portion. Okay, because many companies, are doing an online thing only, no paper form. Okay, so you log into company's payroll portal, select exempt status, and submit the change. Okay, everything you saw is going to be basically online, but you must afterwards, step 2, perfect the record letter. Okay, because online portal does not allow you to attach required legal addendum. You must immediately mail a physical notice to your company to protect yourself. Yes, by U.S. mail. So here's in the first gold square is the notice of reliance cover letter, and the same to download official IRS W-4 form and the addendum we talked about. So here it is, the first one, the first thing I mentioned, the supplemental documentation for online form W-4 submission. There it is. So basically you said here, look, you don't let me do this thing, online, so I cannot do it properly. I cannot explain the law, what I'm relying upon properly. So I'm here doing it online, on paper, sending it to you, and make this part of my personal records so the whole picture is complete why you are doing what you are doing. So again, W-4 exempt form, it's all online, and the addendum, but here you fill it out like last one on paper, and the addendum on paper, and you send them together along with this supplemental documentation for online the form W-4 submission. Okay, so after all this, okay, you got to realize, folks, the best way to have the IRS leave you alone is to stop filing 1040 income tax confession trap forms. The IRS in 2017 stopped going after people who do not file 1040 tax forms, the confession forms, and they're coming after a very, very tiny number of non-filers. 80 million plus non-filers right now. So, bottom line is, if you work for yourself, if you're an independent contractor, if you're an employer, it's very easy. Just stop sending quarterly estimated payments to the IRS. If you're an employer, no more W-4 from your employees. That's right. Don't require them to fill out W-4 forms. No more W-2s to send to the IRS the following year, or 1099 form, or K-1 form. None of these IRS forms at all. Stop stealing from your own employees, and they'll be more loyal to you because you give them the whole paycheck, all of it that they really need to survive and hopefully prosper by you being a good guy and let them have their whole paycheck that they worked hard for. As an employee, which most of you is, I just showed the procedure. Very easy. If you want protection, 100% guarantee, we can protect you at Freedom Law School, but you must go to our website, freedomlawschool.org, and educate yourself about the 7 steps to regain your power and freedom, not pay the DC swamp, legally, safely guaranteed. Click on the 7 steps. The gold, the bar takes you right here. Steps are easy. Follow the law. Absolutely follow the law. We have a brochure here and the video that shows you the law is on your side. The people of 50 states are not required by law to file and pay federal income taxes. Step 2, well, that's the best part. No longer put the rope around your neck as a slave. You are free, not a slave. So stop with the rope around your neck. Don't sign that form. Do not tell the IRS under oath that you owe the IRS money, because that's how they end up taking your money and put you in prison because you signed that doggone form that you shouldn't have to fill out in the first place. Step 3 is realize IRS is based upon bluff, like I showed you already. Okay? So you realize they're bluff. And step 4, you recognize that IRS is not a big, powerful monster, Godzilla they pretend to be. They're actually a weak little, fireless, toothless lizard. I've beaten, my students beaten. Not one of my students who come to Freedom Law School has ever gone to prison, or had their paycheck or bank account levied by the IRS, or taken home or business, since I've done this for over 24 years to protecting people like you. I'm not in prison, never been there, even though for over 30 years I have not openly not filed the paid income tax and taught Americans like you, and the IRS knows me. I've been under criminal investigation by the IRS back then in 1994, before there was a Freedom Law School even, and continually even to this day. They can look at me all they want. That I've not broken no law, because no law requires you and me, the people of the 50 states, to file and pay for income tax to begin with. The details about that is on our website, freedomlawschool.org. Educate yourself, the empowering truth that you'll absolutely love. And remember, folks, you don't have to be a slave. You don't have to pay tribute. All you got to do is educate yourself. That is in your hands. If you have a spirit of founding fathers, hang together like we're doing right now in this tax strike, we can be free. We'll be free. We even have an official Restore Freedom plan to join together and guarantee your freedom. So with that, go to freedomlawschool.org now. As you drive around town, play it on your smartphone, listen, watch your road. At lunch or dinner, play it again. This time watch it while you eat, you enjoy your food, and you know the truth. Seek the truth. The truth shall set you free. Join the national tax strike. Stop filing paying income taxes in 2026 forward, and you will be free, and we the American people as a nation will be free and prosperous, with peace for all of us once again.